Hey, folks, it's hard to believe, but in Connecticut, we have Republican media supporting Ben Proto as he rigs the delegates. Fine, we're going to level out the playing field, but here's a post from a journalist in Long Island about me, and I'm going to share it because, what the hell? John Flynn met with his friend, Pam, in 2021 at my house in Norwalk. Flynn and Miss Smith left Norwalk driving west, surveilled by Engine Company Number 1 in Norwalk Fire Department. Soon after the meeting, Greg Fisher was targeted and surveilled and murdered. Targeted, surveilled, and she left out the word murder. Okay. And he ran in Suffolk County, New York for 20 years he ran, he never won. Well, I've been running, but I'll never win. So here we go. A Connecticut candidate running for Senate sent a subpoena to Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone. Yeah, I did. For information related to the Levy agreement. Yes, I did. As it pertains to documents about ex-Suffolk County Police Chief Jimmy Burke. You know who that is, right? Ex-Suffolk County Executive Levy had asserted that he, as well as his administrators, had been in Suffolk County. He told the News they were pulled over to the side of the road, had the bejesus scared out of them. Levy had refrained from commenting further. He kept quiet out of fear of being labeled paranoid and delusional. Levy published a book entitled Bias in the Media, details of his relations with the mayor of Danbury, Connecticut, where they all went to prison and then ran a racket out of the prison. Here we go. Flynn was aware that Levy claimed to have been targeted by Tom Spoda, true, and his office at 725 Veterans Highway, Hop Hog, true, New York, and Suffolk County Police Chief Burke with his palace guard. Spoda and Burke were arrested and imprisoned. Where? Danbury, with their friend. Unbelievable. Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone charged Spoda with running a racketeering enterprise through the DA office. That's exactly what's happening in Bridgeport. Exactly what's happening in Bridgeport. And I called the Bridgeport state's attorney yesterday, who refuses to arrest Judge Reid. Excuse me? It's criminal, okay? She has a patsy that she assigns as an attorney who's a congressman's staffer, Dennis Bradley, convicted of 6 times for wire fraud. And they put him up against congressional candidates. So Dennis Bradley was T.J. Elgin's attorney. And then TJ called me and said, "What's going on with this?" I said, "Dude, you didn't know Dennis Bradley works for Jim Himes?" "No." "So I know what's going on. And the judge thinks you're stupid. And the DA is going to be added to this lawsuit because I just sent a $25 million. Well, let me just show you what documents I've been creating. Let's see, and then I'll jump back to this. Prejudgment remedy number 18. Ben Proto, $5 million. Yeah, hello. That's one. That's number 18. I'm up to 23. I'm suing a doctor. I'm suing a medical staff. I'm going to sue them all. Okay, they're all going down. All of them. The evidence is so dramatic. And the judges are in on it. We'll see what happens. Sister-in-law Susan Hudusky held a high-ranking position in Suffolk County. For Suffolk County Health Services in an umbrella agency for the County Department of Social Services, DSS, which employs county social workers as well as Suffolk County Child Protective Services. They have the same problem in Suffolk, which is clearly demonstrated, and their people have already been imprisoned, as we're about to do in Connecticut. Imprison them all for what they've done. And you can talk to various radio stations. You know, Reese on the radio, he's great. But some of these other guys basically support the Democrats and look the other way at all opportunities. So when Ben Proto rigs the delegates and the petitioning candidates' signatures to keep people from being on the ballot, look at this psychopath in Maine. Oh my God. You know, how many more skeletons are in the closet? I don't know. But we'll soon see, right? The hit machine was located inside the H. Lee Dennison Building, 100 Veterans Highway, Hauppauge in New York. The Suffolk County Traffic and Parking Violations Agency, headed by Levy, appointed Paul Margiotta, Esquire, located in the basement of the Dennison Building, which the main office in Suffolk County Department of Health is located at 3500 Sunrise Highway, Suite 124, Great River, New York, sharing a campus with St. Joe's University and the Ticket Trafficking Office on Sunrise Highway, Great River, New York. Okay, fine. The New York, and it's also related to Seton Hall Catholic High School campus, which is closed in a massive insurance fraud scheme operating from the campus. Okay. It's hard to keep track of all the scandals going on in Suffolk, but why I talk about Suffolk all the time is because it's a proven fact that these people were put away, and that's exactly what's going to happen in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Same thing happening here. In 2018, Greg Fisher ran for Senate, just like Ethan Book, who was murdered. Greg Fisher was murdered. Okay. New York as blah, blah. Son beat up in a school in Riverhead by a New York member fire department. A medical record of the incident was created by the Riverhead school nurse and Superintendent Tormador, cousin of Greg Fisher's political opponent for Senate. A Stony Brook University graduate resigned the month after Greg's son graduated. And you got to wonder why they're going after the children of the candidates, which will be coming out soon. I don't want to subject these kids to unwanted attention by the media. No, I don't. Well, here we go. Maria Cordero was employed by Susan Hudusky at the Suffolk County CPS in her capacity as a nurse at Brookhaven Memorial Hospital. Brookhaven. Bad. East Patchogue, New York. Greg Fisher received a traffic ticket from Suffolk County police officers and required him to report to the Suffolk County Traffic. This gave them the opportunity to surveil Greg Fisher till they murdered him. And what's going on in Connecticut? Trafficking people to murder them. And we have 18 murdered people now. No one's going to cover the story. New York State driver's license suspended, in which hindered his ability to campaign against Steve Ballone. So they're using the DMV, just like Connecticut. And Connecticut registered 800,000 illegal voters. Oh, is that all? The Suffolk County Parking and Violations Agency, just like the state police in Hartford. When I spoke at the Supreme Court, they stole my car. They've stolen my car 3 times. Greg Fisher was eventually allowed to pay fine and his New York State license restored. He lost his campaign for Suffolk County executive, targeted with unnecessary traffic tickets, just like me. And John Flynn met with Greg Fisher and Pamela Smith and soon after received 8 unnecessary traffic tickets. That's true. He's surveilled and dragged into the courthouse and eventually incarcerated at Whiting Forensic Hospital, 70 O'Brien Drive, Middletown, Connecticut, where he was maliciously assigned a mental illness diagnosis. Pamela Smith was targeted as a staged auto accident while driving her navy blue car in 2011. Her daughter in the car and both sustained medical injuries. You can go on. And her sister-in-law was working at Suffolk County Department of Health for Connie Corso. At the time, Dowling College Alumni Association Liberty Mutual Auto Insurance Policy. This is a major fraud network. The Dowling College Alumni Association is targeting single Catholic moms. We followed 50 of them for a couple of years, and only 2 are still alive. 48 died, many mysteriously. So we're tracking murders, folks, and you should listen. Here we go. Connie Corso was calling for the arrest of Pamela Smith for a letter. Susan Hadesky asserted that they should use the Office of Health to determine if Pamela Smith had mental illness. Wow. Representatives of Pilgrim State Mental Hospital appeared at the door of Pamela Smith to find her well and fully functioning. No mental illness could be determined. Next, her daughter complained of being heavily surveilled in the street theater, beat up at the school, and stalked away from her home. Oh boy. So what they do is they turn your kids against you by harassing the kids. This goes on to describe how Jonathan Minovich began to visit Pamela Smith at her home, and the district attorney, mental hygiene, Suffolk County controller. Very interesting. 150 Motor Parkway is the home to Long Island Contractors Association, LICA. Board member Joseph Basilico is a board member of Downing College, issuing the Liberty Mutual Auto Policy. Okay, Smithtown, Elizabeth Glass campaigned, lost her race, moved to Suffolk, supported by Greg Fisher. Elizabeth Glass was then targeted by Shakika Quinn, Centerreach, who crashed into her Honda while driving a navy blue Jeep. Shanika Quinn is employed at the healthcare field, employed by the New York State Office of People and Development with Disabilities. Big problem. Just like people are targeted by the Connecticut disability groups and Blumenthal's staff. So keep in mind, when I was in Whiting, the hospital had pretty much weekly contact with Blumenthal, who reported back to my father and surveilled him. And there's plenty of documents about it, and there's plenty of audio. In her capacity as Director of Revenue for the Suffolk County Department of Health and her active participation in contributions to the PBA, Police Benevolent Association, and LIEF, Susan Hadesky is complicit in the crimes, including false ticketing, staging car accidents, false incarceration, to facilitate fake mental illness diagnosis against political candidates, and the friends of Pamela Smith, including Flynn. What is all this stuff? Folks, there's so much evidence. The Long Island Law Enforcement Foundation has been a leader in advocating for public safety and an unshakable defense against New York's woke pro-crime politicians. LILEF helped remove radical Democratic New York State senators from office, assisted Republicans in winning the House, and brought Lee Zeldin within inches of unseating Kathy Hochul. What you need to know is that my dad's a big donor, and he made a, I think, $75 contribution to Lee Zeldin, which Lee Zeldin changed to $4,750. So we called Lee Zeldin and said, "Excuse me, we sent you a $75 check and you changed it." And that was immediately fixed. So the guys, I could tell you about Lee Zeldin. Don't be misled by Lee Zeldin. Just as the criminals make false allegations against our police, corrupt politicians make false complaints against LILEF to prevent us from advocating for you. Like many criminals, Trotta resorted to making false and frivolous complaints about LILEF and the SCPBA. Now, unfortunately for Connecticut, since we've been following what's happening in Suffolk, which you should follow, this is the formula for us to take back Fairfield County in Connecticut, which is the worst county. It's a Jim Himes district. It's a Blumenthal district. It's a Greenwich-controlled district. And if you look at what's happening in Greenwich, you will see that Proto came back to Greenwich after Ryan Fazio got the nomination from Aaron Stewart, which is Aaron Stewart's a huge criminal. Okay, she rigged the Murphy's U.S. Senate race. And then the powers that be in Stamford, Shelton, Darien, Norwalk come back to get their part of the $18 million from Fazio. And Fazio has no idea what's happening. While we're confident we have been successful in defending this, we were advised by counsel of the cost of litigation would far exceed the offered settlement. Okay. So there's correspondence from the Suffolk County PBA, and there's a lawsuit. The defendants filed a lawsuit in federal court seeking damages against him for inter alia violations of the state and federal constitution, the election law, the county code, and the 14th Amendment. Well, that's against Trotta. The case against Trotta was always frivolous, like suing a judge using a legislator who runs into obvious wall of absolute immunity. Unless they committed murders, and there are quite a bit of murders that Heuermann was framed with, so they could say they were prosecuted, except that there are possibly 90 murdered Gilgo women in Suffolk, Long Island, of which only 20 are talked about. So when you uncover what is actually happening, which we will do, it's going to take time. But there are clues that we're leaving. Suffolk County Public. What? What? Oh, it's fuzzy. This is merely a video to keep people honest, okay? Because the state's attorney needs to go to jail in the Stanford 123 Hoyt Street. We're going to start with Gioeli, and there's others, and we're going to end with Paul Forensic, because you can't be dirtier. Think about this very simply. Ready? If Connecticut doesn't follow federal or state law, which they don't, and the state's attorney is responsible for the crooked DAs, look at the Sam Magliari case. In jail, 650 days, being forced medicated for a misdemeanor that was false arrest in the first place. A whistleblower needs protection, and they can do what they're going to do, and they're doing it all the time. But there's something very interesting that they're not aware of. If I recorded $100 million bribe from Richard Blumenthal, why isn't Paul Forensic arresting the guy? If there's no paperwork associated with the bribe, why didn't they arrest Rich Colangelo, the chief state's attorney of Connecticut, who paid the barrier bribe? There's really nowhere they can go, because once they left the building and decided not to throw away due process, certain things will come to light very soon, and you need to follow it, because if you don't, you won't understand why they're going to jail. So, step down now. Last chance. Thanks. Have a great day. If you knew what she knew, wow. Thanks.